Okay, we are going to move back into regular session now. It's 6:44 p.m. Moving on to item 8, discussion and possible action items. A, presentation of the Grant Management and Information Technology Service, Audits, and the Disaster Recovery and Business Continuity Planning Advisory Services Report related to the district-wide risk assessment effort. Is that us?
Thank you, Board. If you will, I'll start with our status report document. It should be the smaller of the 4 that you have. You'll notice the top part for student financial aid is gray because we've presented that previously, so I will not recap that one. We did have we do have 3 other audits in our audit plan for this year. One of those is grants management, the other information technology services, and then facilities and maintenance. You'll see where we have completed grant management and information technology services, and then the facilities and maintenance is upcoming. I will also present to you the section of our report that is our audit advisory projects. And so I'll remind just quickly that advisory projects are distinctly separate from audits. They are geared towards and meant to help the college improve, where we can actually dig in a little deeper from an advisory perspective and provide tools, templates, and help design things that then the college can take over and have responsibility for. So we don't impair our independence as the auditor, but we are able to provide a little bit more direct assistance than an audit. And I'll cover what we've done for business continuity planning there. And then we also have an environmental health and safety on the plan for this year. Last thing of note before we dig into the reports, we do have one segment of our audit plan that is our 21 audit follow-up procedures, where we had planned to follow up on any open findings from prior audits. We did that inherently. The only audit that we had to follow up on was over student financial aid, and so we inherently did that when we did our audit over student financial aid. And so that segment, that line item on our audit plan is canceled officially. I just wanted to bring that to you and explain why. And so, as previously mentioned, we do have Brandon Tanis here. Brandon led the audit over grants management as a senior manager. He's since been named a partner at Weaver. And so I'm going to let him cover that report for you and answer any questions.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Happy to be here to discuss with you all the audit of grants management. So overall, the audit included an evaluation of the risk and controls related to the college's grant administration and management processes. This looked at both centralized and decentralized functions here at the college. That included the entire cycle from starting at grant administration to the grant application, contracting, reporting, ensuring compliance, and closeout. The scope also included an evaluation of the CARES Act funds, along with looking at what are we doing here at the college to manage and monitor those and provide guidance for those going forward, including with the HERF funds. Overall, we had a satisfactory rating of looking at those processes of the college, did identify a lot of processes and procedures that are performed. We did identify 7 findings that had to do more with the formalization of those procedures into formal policy and procedures and so forth. One of those is high risk, 5 were moderate, and of course, 1 was low. The findings that we did identify had to do with, of course, we talked about the formalization of those procedures and the practices that are being done, including the standardization of grants management policies and procedures, development of grant management training for all grant users, tracking of grant applications and awards to be more of a formal process that is being done to document what the process that is being done, communication of grant compliance requirements, so disseminating all those compliance to all users of the grant, not just the grant manager, along with doing some additional validation procedures for potential conflicts of interest that are specific to those grants, reviewing of grant program reports and the formalization of who should be reviewing and approving each one of those at each level, and also looking at updating the user access for key applications for grant accounting. So those are the key findings that were identified. Observations were also provided to management for their consideration. And we will also perform follow-up procedures of those results in FY22. Like, if there's any questions, happy to answer those.
I do have a question. In our meeting the other day, it seems that I recall a recommendation for us to hire a grant application specialist.
Yes. So what we've seen and is here at the college, you have more of a decentralized grant management function. So we're relying on those grant managers to actually perform those duties. The college does not have a centralized grant office or grant expert that can help on a multitude of things, such as researching grants, helping with the application process. Most of your grant managers are in, decentralizing the college and have other duties. Their primary duties is not to go out and find grants and to do the contracting process, but that is kind of other duties that are currently assigned. Having that centralized office that can manage the grants for the college, provide guidance to the grant managers, also help with training and have consistent uniform policies and procedures would be very beneficial, and is something that we're seeing other colleges are moving towards.
Well, as a board, we see that as potentially another mouth to feed. How could that financially benefit Blinn if we did that?
When you have someone that is dedicated to being able to find additional grant funds, right now you are limited with the ability of each of those grant managers to go out and find those. You could have the opportunities to increase the amount of grants that you're eligible for. You can eligible for to determine those and to find those to offset that cost. You do have another mouth to feed, you say, but when you can increase the amount of funds coming in, that is offset, and to be able to provide those funds to additional program areas and so forth.
I'd also like to highlight that position, the reason that recommendation came about was because of the lack of standardization. As Brandon said, it's a decentralized environment. So you're depending on, usually those grant administrators are faculty or someone else who has another job, such as instructing students or other administrative duties within the college. And so this position also helps protect the college and protect the funding that you do have by making sure that you're in compliance with existing grant requirements, reporting requirements, mostly centered around operational reporting. The finance office does a pretty good job, and you have an audit over your single audit covers the financial reporting aspects, but there's operational and objective reporting in those grant funds. That's currently where the big risk lies. And so having someone to help coordinate and help ensure that you meet those grant requirements helps protect the college to retain funding that you existing have. So it's not only an opportunity to expand funding, do research, but it's also a protection for the college to help maintain the level of funding that you do have for those specific grants.
Good point.
Yes, please.
Trustees, just to let you know that we've already been responsive to this recommendation. We've put the money in the budget for the position in the department, an administrative assistant to support it. And the position may already be out there posted. If not, it will be out there very soon this summer. Thank
you.
And we've had this position in the past. It's just, sometimes it's a mouth to feed, sometimes it makes money. It just depends on the type of person out there looking for grants. So let's find a good one.
No other questions. I'll move to the next report, which is our advisory report over disaster recovery and business continuity. So as I said earlier, this part of our audit plan is in our audit advisory services projects. And so this scope really takes into account both disaster recovery and business continuity, the plan and execution that the college has, and was an opportunity for us to look at it and use expertise that we have in both operations for community colleges and IT, where we had some of our IT advisory folks come in and help. And so we looked at it holistically for the college. What we did is we took the criteria set forth by the State Office of Risk Management, the Department of Information Resources, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So they set forth different criteria, and we took the criteria from all those regulatory bodies and governing IT governing bodies and built a template for the college to bring in all the criteria that is necessary for disaster recovery and business continuity, both from a IT security point from NIST and then operations from SWRM and DIR. There are 92 separate individual criteria, so that's a baseline. There are nice to haves on top of the 92. So we started with the 92 different criteria. Then we took what the college already had as far as disaster recovery and business continuity documentation. There were 5 separate documents managed by different parts of the college and different groups of the college. And we worked to consolidate the information from those into a singular template and provide that back to the college with specific recommendations on what needs to be done to fill in any gaps. And so we brought the 92 criteria, we filled it in. We identified 64 different updates that need to be applied. Some are updates to existing information, some are additions of new information to meet those 92 different criteria. And we provided that template and specific recommendations on how to approach and complete the template so that we as a college would no longer have 5 separate documents managed by different parts of the college, but we would have one central document in the event of a pandemic, an ice storm, what have you that we've already experienced, but have a centralized document that then leads and governs the college on those disaster recovery, business continuity and resumption efforts, so that it's shared and known by a group of college leadership. That way, if any one person was out of pocket for whatever reason, that there was a document to guide and lead the college on bringing back operations, both from an IT perspective and from an instructional and operational perspective.
Who's the guardian of that document? I mean, who is it that just sees that is what we're following? Is that a joint effort of every department, or is there an individual that oversees that document?
One of the recommendations that we have is to designate a team, a disaster recovery business continuity team that I believe Dr. Hensley has already put together. It's made up of I'll use buzzwords, a cross-functional team from different departments. So it's different representatives, mostly of the vice chancellors, that then oversee the execution of that document, and then also would be responsible for reviewing that document on a periodic basis to make sure that it's up to date.
Yes, we formed a team responsive to this recommendation as well. It is Vice Chancellors, John Chancellor, also Chief of Police, Rich Bray is on there as well, and a couple of other people as well. They've already met. Leighton, I think, has already convened a meeting, and they're already looking at the recommendations. So again, this is another instance where we had processes in place, but not centralized into one document, one place. And also some of it is a little bit out of date. We needed to bring it up to date as well. So I think we're on to this one.
Okay. Are there any other questions about this particular process?
The last comment I have is on the last page of our summary, there is a findings summary that outlines the findings by audit. As I mentioned previously, there's the financial aid and student accounting, the grant management, information technology services we don't show due to the restrictions of IT security. We have the facilities and maintenance. The IT advisory projects are not on this list because they're not, as I said, they're not audits, they're advisory projects. We will continue to follow up on the implementation of the advisory projects, but we don't include them on this summary for you for that reason. Thank you for your time this evening. If you have any other questions about any of the audits, we'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you so much.
I might just make a comment for the benefit of some of the new board members. But I think that this was a good initiative by the board, not to check on the staff or make any accusation, but it's an internal, done by some outside contract that gives us just an opportunity to understand and see where there may be weaknesses or there may be issues. And I think we've already seen now that there are a couple of recommendations that come out of here that the administration's already undertaken. So I think it's a good process, and I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that most institutions or most businesses indulge in, is have somebody come in and look at your operation from the outside. And I think we appreciate the work that they've done so far. They've gone through a couple of different departments already. So.
We're so pleased with your work. Thank you so very much. The administration totally agrees with the trustees' action on this one, and we look forward to working with you for the next couple of years, I believe, in future audits. And trustees, please know that we take these very seriously, and I think you can already see very reactively to what we hear, the suggestions. We welcome them, and we desire to know how we can make continual improvements. So thank you.
Thank you so much. If there are no additional questions in regards to the report that they've been given, the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees discuss and accept receipt of the Grant Management and Information Technology Services Audits and the Disaster Recovery and Business Continuity Planning Advisory Services report as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. All right, second by Ms. Bain. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. And I think that pretty much brings us to the end of our agenda. If there's no other new business to be brought up, I'll move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, second. Second by Ms. Ehlert. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Time there.
Pretty good there, Chief.